What is dopamine and how does it affect our life? Dopamine is so important. And that's what determines our mood, our mental health, how we feel, how motivated we are. So it's very important. It's one of the most important things in our body. If we learn how it works and if we can leverage it, we can make sure it works for us instead of against us. The reason we are addicted to behaviors, video games, alcohol is because when we do those things, we get a release of dopamine. And that release of dopamine feels pleasurable, it feels nice. We crave more and more and more of it. So we keep doing it over and over again. The way dopamine works in our body is it releases a certain amount of it 24/7 that's circulating throughout our body at all times. That's our baseline level of dopamine. That level of dopamine is what determines how we feel throughout the day, how our mood is, how good we feel, how inclined we are to do hard things like going to the gym, working, doing uncomfortable tasks. All of that is determined by baseline level of dopamine. When we do really pleasurable activities like playing video games, eating junk food, drinking alcohol, taking drugs, we get a release of dopamine, and for a short period of time, the level of dopamine circulating through our body increases above the baseline. That's what makes us feel good. After it increases, it slowly comes back down and it doesn't stop at the baseline. Our dopamine levels go down further than baseline after we are done doing that activity. And we feel worse afterwards because we have less dopamine circulating through our body. That's why we shouldn't do any of these pleasurable activities. Because when we do them, we're actually feeling worse after the activity is done. What happens after our dopamine levels go below baseline? After a while, it'll come back up to baseline. But only if you let it come back to baseline. If you continue doing that behavior, stop that behavior and go do some other pleasurable activity, you're going to spike your dopamine levels. Again, that's going to lead to more of a fall in your dopamine levels. And the more you keep doing it, the more peaks you'll have and the more your dopamine is going to fall. And after you're done doing that activity, you're going to be left with way less dopamine than the baseline amount. That's why we continue to do these habits. That's why we can't stop doing them. Because in the back of our minds, we know that once we're done with this habit, we're going to experience that discomfort, which is the lack of dopamine circulating through our bodies. So don't overindulge in these activities because you're going to get a lot of pain afterwards. And this pain we refer to is not physical pain, it's the lack of dopamine which creates pain. Let's imagine a seesaw. One side is pleasure and one side is pain. When we do pleasurable activities, that side of pleasure it gets heavier and heavier and it goes down. But your brain always wants it to be level. So once you're done doing that pleasurable activity, your brain is going to increase that pain. Your seesaw can be balanced again. But your brain overcompensates with the pain. So you end up having more pain than the pleasure that you had. That's what creates excess pain. And if you just let it pass, it'll slowly come back and it'll be balanced again. So you'll have your dopamine baseline restored. But what happens when you continue doing these habits? When you stack dopamine habits like listening to music, playing video games, at the same time and eating junk food, when you stack all that dopamine together, the pleasure side gets so heavy, your brain has to compensate so much more just to get it level. And your brain always overcompensates with the pain. So you end up having a lot more pain than the pleasure. And it takes longer for it to restore balance. So next time you're doing something, don't stack dopamine. Don't eat junk food, listen to music and play video games at the same time. Even doing one of them isn't great, but when you stack all of them together, it's devastating. That's what leads to depression. When you have low dopamine baseline levels, you end up having depression. Depression is caused by lack of dopamine. And if you've ever been depressed, you know that's true. So, don't engage too much in these activities. They're gonna end up making you feel so much worse. That pleasure is only transient, but the pain is gonna last so much longer. And most people can't live with that pain. So they go and overcompensate by doing more of these activities, but that will have a devastating effect. The more and more you stack these activities on top of each other, the more pain you're gonna get afterwards. If you ever had a couple hour long gaming session, you played for 4 or 5 hours, and after you're done, you just feel that discomfort, agitation, just not feeling good. You just crave more dopamine, so you go and scroll on your phone till it's bedtime. You sleep late, then you only you only go to sleep when your eyes just can't remain open anymore. You're just so overtaken with sleep, you go to sleep. That's not how healthy humans should live. To have good mental health, we need to use pain. We need to use it instead of letting it get used against us. So, what do? When we get peaks in our dopamine levels, we end up having troughs, long periods of time where the levels of dopamine is below the baseline. Now, if we just create dips in dopamine, we can have long lasting peaks in dopamine. We need to use that discomfort, that pain, so that after we're done with that activity, we feel much better. What activities am I talking about? Doing hard work, going to the gym, exercising, going for a run where it feels uncomfortable, but you push through. After you're done, you just feel so good. Why? What do you think the runner's high is? When runners go run for a long time, they experience so much discomfort, so much pain, that after they're done, they get this big peak of dopamine that lasts for a long time. The pain is short lived, but that pleasure remains for a long time. So do these activities that you don't want to do, the activities that feels like you're doing hard work. That's the kind of activities you should be doing to get these long lasting peaks. One of the best things I've found for this is cold showers. Go to your shower, turn the tap all the way cold, and step into it. Stay in there for 30 seconds to a minute. When you get out, you'll feel so much happier. Your mood will get better, you'll have more motivation. Why? Because when we get into that cold shower, we experience that dip in dopamine. And when we get out, we get this long lasting peak that can last for hours. So if you do that first thing in the morning, you just start your day off well, you start your day off happy, and you feel good for a long part of the day. So have cold shower, go to the gym, go run, but just go for a run. Go run for 20 minutes. Just make sure you feel uncomfortable when you're doing it. Because when you do feel that discomfort and you do feel that lack of dopamine inside you. Just remember, after you're done, you're gonna get that huge peak, that long lasting peak, and you're gonna feel so happy. So just do these uncomfortable activities for a short while, and you're gonna have way longer happiness peaks. Next time you're going to do a pleasurable activity like playing video games, eating junk food, scrolling on your phone. Just remember, after you're done, you're gonna get pain. That pain is going to be dumped on you, and it's going to take a while for you to come back to baseline. And if you've been continuing to do all these bad habits, if you've been playing video games, scrolling, eating junk food throughout the whole day, your dopamine levels are so low, you don't realize how happy you could be. You don't need antidepressants. All you need is hard work most of the time. There are cases where you can have clinical depression, but most of the time, it's just that people are doing these bad habits, these activities that lead them to have depression. When you keep having these peaks, your baseline, your level of dopamine goes below, lower and lower and lower and lower. It just gets so low that you're not motivated to do anything. You don't feel good. Everything feels bad for you. When you get to that baseline, if you get higher than baseline by doing hard work, you find hard work enjoyable. You find going to the gym enjoyable, going for runs enjoyable. And that's the life we should all be living. Not a life where more than half our day is spent on video games, on our phones, on social media. People are so much happier before. Now we're in a mental health crisis. Why? Because we've got our phones, constant dopamine. Any time that you want, it's available. Go to Instagram and start scrolling, you'll get dopamine. That's what causes us to have depression. These are the most peaceful times that we've lived in. These are the most comfortable times. But these are the times where the most amount of people in history have had depression, mental health problems. It all roots back to your phone. The next time you want to do a pleasurable activity, remember, you're going to get that pain. Try to stop yourself. Instead of doing that pleasurable activity, do an uncomfortable activity. Instead of playing those video games, go to the gym for an hour. See how good you feel. And whenever you're going to do an uncomfortable task, remember, after I'm done with this task, I'm going to feel great. I'm going to have a peak in dopamine. That's what you should strive for. Having more dopamine. Because when you have more dopamine, so many doors of opportunities open for you. You're grateful for the trees around you. When you see a squirrel in the park, just watching it, how it moves. Because when you stop all these dopaminergic activities, these things feel fun. Running feels fun. When you eat some food that you might have not previously thought was that amazing, it tastes so good now. Why? Because the dopamine receptors are recalibrated. They're not so destroyed with the abundance of dopamine that we release into our systems every single day. So go do an uncomfortable task. Stop doing these pleasurable activities. And even if you do, make sure to not continuously do it. Play one game, play for an hour. Let that pain pass. Don't compensate for that pain by doing pleasurable activities because that's just going to make your pain even worse. So just remember this the next time you're going to do an activity. Is this going to give me pleasure afterwards or is it going to give me pain afterwards? Keep this in mind. This might be the most important thing that you do.